Hello and welcome back. Today I want to talk through the perfumes that I wore while we were away. We just got back from a big trip to Europe and a little bit of time in the Middle East, and we went to Italy and stopped in Oman on the way home. So first things first, we had to fly to Milan. Obviously, again, I don't like wearing anything too strong on a plane. I know that people are very sensitive to perfumes. I still wanted to wear something, but I did try and keep it light. And I took this now empty decant of Eau Lente from Diptyque with me. This was given to me by Henna at CanadianBeauty.com last year. And I really fell in love with this perfume, but I cannot get this in my own city. We don't have a Diptyque store here. A Diptyque store has opened up in Melbourne, but frustratingly, you can't actually order anything from them, even nationally. You have to physically go into the store and buy stuff from them. So obviously I'm not in Melbourne, so that was not going to be an option. However, in Milan, there is a Diptyque store. So I went and picked up a full bottle while I was there. I don't just upgrade every decant or anything, obviously, into a full bottle, but I really did fall in love with this one. This is a dry, spicy, but also kind of translucent scent that is like a veil of your favorite Christmas spices. It's like a memory of Christmas. I just had to race downstairs and let Poppy out for a moment. So what was I saying? This one, it has a very Christmassy vibe to me. And the interesting thing about this perfume is that, again, it's quite translucent, it's light and a little bit powdery, but the spices almost feel like they're tinged a little bit with sugar. So if you think about the cinnamon sugar that you can buy, it's got a little bit of that aspect to it. It's not super sweet, although there is a sweetness to it, but it's just got this little hint of sparkle to it. And that's what I really love about this. It's also got a greenness to it as well, like an evergreen aspect to it, which is very refreshing and cooling. And again, it's like a memory of Christmas, that you're still getting the memory of the spices, but you know, maybe because of all the happy memories associated with the holiday, your mind has added this little tinge of sparkle to it, and that's what this perfume feels like to me. So as I mentioned, we pretty much headed straight up to the Alps in the first week, and we're skiing. And predominantly for the whole week, I was wearing Musc Ravageur. I just took this little travel size with me. I do have a full bottle of it as well. So what happened was, back in 2020, one of my subscribers sent me a travel size of this, and I used all of that up. And then I bought another one, which was this one. And in the meantime, I had also picked up a secondhand used bottle. So I do have a 50ml bottle of it as well, which is only a partial bottle, but suffice to say, this was brand new when I went on holiday, and it is now almost half gone. So I wore this liberally and often in that first week of my holiday. So this is an amber scent, but it opens with a citrusy blast, and the citrus, I think, is lemon, but it's not a bright lemon. It's got a bit of a darkness to it. It's kind of like an oily lemon, like an lemon essential oil or something. It's got a bit of depth and darkness and weight to it. It's just not sort of that effervescent, bright, sparkly lemon. This fragrance also has a slightly leathery feel to it as well. And as it dries down, it really smooths out, and those citrusy and sort of dry, scratchy elements give way to a bit more of a vanillic sweetness in the base, which is also coupled with musk, which gives you that beautiful enveloping feel, and an amber accord as well, which, I mean, there is vanilla in an amber accord. So interestingly, when I was first getting to know this perfume, I found it to be I thought it was quite animalic and challenging. And I think that's really more the leathery aspects of this perfume that I think are in there, but it's not that challenging to me anymore, and I don't find it particularly animalic these days. Although this perfume and Bengal Rouge from Papillon Parfums, that they both have this sort of element, and I know Bengal Rouge is created to have this, you know, this sort of feeling of animal fur or cat fur. And I feel like I get a little bit of that in here as well, but it's not quite as feline as, say, Bengal Rouge is. And this I feel is a lot lighter in the wear than Bengal Rouge. It's more airy than Bengal Rouge, I think. So anyway, that is Musc Ravageur, a really, really beautiful one. And then we headed back down the mountain to Milan, and at this point I was really struggling to figure out what I wanted to wear, because knowing that we were going to be going to Exscent, I knew I didn't want to wear anything too strong or too competing against everything else that I was going to be overwhelmed with when I walked into that venue. And so I opted to go for Musc de Sables by Les Indomptables. This is a decant that I've bought off one of our local decanters. And I'm sad to say that I really went ham with it this trip, and it is basically done. I love, love, love this perfume so, so much. And I'm dying to get a bottle. And in fact, when we were in Milan, I walked all over Milan trying to find a store that stocked them. I was convinced that there would be one, and there was not. In fact, I ended up messaging them on Instagram the day after Exscent finished and said, "Do you have any stockists in Milan?" And they went, "No." but they know I'm from Australia, so they also just sort of said, "Oh, I think we're going to be getting a distributor into Australia very soon." So I'm kind of hanging out for that. So in the meantime, I may end up having to just buy another decant to get me through until I can purchase a full bottle. We used to have a store here in Australia that sold Les Indomptables, which is why I do own 2 other bottles, but I was never able to get this one. So to me, this is a slightly green, orrisy scent that I think has a mandarin note in the top that comes across as being slightly candied, but not overly sweet. And then when it starts to dry down, I get, and in fact, I even get it smelling it just out of the atomizer. I get this slightly baby powder vibe from it as well, but I want to say in a grown-up way, which may be because of the orris, or maybe it's partly because of the ambergris that's in here that sort of gives it a little bit more of an elevated edge. Elevated in the sense that it gives it maybe a little bit more of a formal, elegant edge, rather than it being just a sort of cozy, musky scent, which it is that too, to me. It is an extremely easy perfume to wear, I think, and it just, I don't know, it's just got this really soft, understated air of quality about it. And I wore this every day at Exscent, and pretty much every day while we were in Milan, but on some days I did layer other things with it. It is one of those perfumes you can kind of just wear it every day and layer things over the top if you want to. It just has this beautiful, not too heavy, musky, orrisy base to it that I'm absolutely head over heels for this perfume. So that is Musc de Sables by Les Indomptables. One perfume that I did layer quite a bit with the Musc de Sables was this one. This is a decant that I bought off FragranceNet of Serge Lutens Fleurs d'Oranger. I also have a full bottle of this sitting in my cupboard, but I like to have it in a travel size as well, because when I'm in the mood for this one, I'm in the mood for it, and I can wear it for days on end. So this to me is a very spicy floral perfume. I do obviously get orange blossom, and as I've pulled it out of the casing, it's wafting over to me from the atomizer now, and it does definitely have a good douse of orange blossom in there. But interestingly, as it starts to dry down on me, I feel like I get quite a bit of tuberose from this perfume. And there is also a spice in here that I'm guessing is cumin. Serge Lutens, I never really know what's in them because I don't think that they publish their notes. So, but I think there is a cumin note in here. It has that kind of almost sweaty nuance to it, but it's still clean, and it just, I don't know, it marries perfectly with this orange blossom and tuberosy floral. I don't know what else is in here. I guess it's slightly green as well, but that could also be the tuberose. Yeah, I don't know what else is in here. It is definitely more floral than anything else to me, but it does have this sort of spicy element to it that is sort of dark. So even though the dominant floral is meant to be orange blossom, which arguably is quite an innocent smelling floral. It doesn't smell innocent. This has a bit of darkness to it. When I'm wearing it, I just feel like it has this really enigmatic kind of feel to it. I feel like a mystery woman, you know. It smells very intriguing to me. I mean, I don't know if other people feel that way about it, but that's how, if I was to smell this on somebody else, I'd be going, So that is Fleurs d'Oranger by Sergio Tans. Then after Milan, obviously we had a travel day to get to Oman. It's only a 4-hour flight, but you've got to get to the airport, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, it ends up being kind of a full day. And in fact, we flew out at night time and we had to check out of our accommodation quite early in the day. So I got online just to see if there were any hotels in Milan that would, you know, have a day time slot that they would book out, and sure enough they did. There was quite a few hotels actually that did that, so I booked us into like a daytime hotel, and which just enabled us to not have to panic, not have to worry about where to put our luggage. We stored our luggage in the room obviously, and then, you know, we could go out and do some stuff in town and then still be able to come back, have a shower, and then head to the airport. And then I think we were flying out at 10 o'clock that night, so it was about half the price of a hotel room. So it was worth it, I think, for just having a base. And if we got tired, we could go and have a nap. And in fact, we did do that. We went out for lunch. We went out in the morning, explored a bit more of the city, had lunch, and then came back and had a little nap before we had to go to the airport. So that was really nice. So on this travel day, when we were sort of also exploring the city, I basically wore 31 Rue Cambon. Obviously, I did not take this big massive bottle with me. I did decant it. It was a nice perfume to throw on. I didn't really have to think about it. And I also found this to be a really good one for the plane, because even though it is a bit stronger than the Eau Lente, I did feel that this was a fairly palatable perfume. And, you know, if you don't overspray, it's fine. And it does sit fairly close to the skin as well, I think. It definitely doesn't scream, put it that way. So I figured it probably wasn't going to be in danger of bothering anyone else, particularly as, you know, it was cold in Milan and I just wore it. I didn't wear it on my clothing. I didn't spray it on me at the outside. I just put it on my skin under my clothes, and I was just getting wafts of it up through my clothing, which was really, really nice. So this is a lovely green and woody iris that I think has a hefty dose of yellow florals in here, particularly ylang ylang. And it also has the Chanel aldehydic undertone as well, which brings in an element of crispness, I think, that helps to combat that sort of really dense headiness that the florals and the iris bring. I feel like I also get a decent amount of patchouli from this as well, but by no means is it as patchouli heavy as, say, a Coromandel or anything like that. But I definitely get this patchouli aspect that's kind of woody and green. And sometimes I feel, depending on the weather, I feel like this feels a little bit soapy on me as well. But for the most part, I really just get this really kind of dense, velvety green feel from it, particularly when you get further into the dry down. That is 31 Rue Cambon by Chanel. I pretty much wore this, that last day in Milan, and I think I might have worn it on the plane coming home at the end of the whole trip as well. So then we get to Oman, and the perfume that I primarily wore in Oman was this one. This is Ashore by Amouage. I haven't talked about this one very much on the channel, although I think I have mentioned it. I might have reviewed it in a list video at some point. I really like this perfume, but I think the reason why I've never felt a burning urge to upgrade to a full bottle is because I already own a lot of aldehydic florals. This one in particular, the white floral, is jasmine, and I love jasmine, but I am more of a tuberose or possibly even an orange blossom girl. So if I'm going to reach for an aldehydic white floral, I'm probably going to reach for something that leans more in that direction. The jasmine really stands out in this perfume. Having said all that though, this perfume is very intriguing to me because it has this sort of light, bright translucency about it. You've got this beautiful, clean, crisp jasmine that's coupled with, you know, some bright, sparkly aldehydes. But then there's also this undertone of depth in this perfume. And I want to say sort of a resinous undertone and slightly spicy. Mackenzie Riley is the perfumer for this one, and I'm really intrigued by how she's managed to make it feel like a really bright, sort of beachy, almost marine-like perfume, but then it also has this really solid base to it, but the base doesn't make it too heavy. Like, it doesn't turn into a hugely ambery or resinous perfume in the base, like after in the deep dry down. It's just, it stays light, it stays bright, it stays crisp, but it's almost like that base just helps to give it a bit more oomph, a bit more presence, and also maybe a little bit more longevity. And also it helps to round out what I think would be quite a sharp edge to the jasmine and the aldehydes. I think the jasmine and the aldehyde notes in here, if they were just left kind of on their own, would be a little bit sharp and maybe almost sour. But I feel like this sort of added depth in the base just really helps to soften that out and round it out a little bit so that it's not quite as jarring as it could be. Sometimes it actually feels waxy to me, which maybe is another reason it feels quite beachy and sunny, because for me this sort of waxy feel, I don't know, it just kind of reminds me of surfboards or lacquered wood or something. I'm not sure, but it's definitely not, it doesn't smell aquatic to me, so I don't know if there's necessarily aquatic notes, but it's kind of like ozonic or something. I don't know. It's a really solid aldehydic floral, but to like this one, I think you really do need to like jasmine, and I like jasmine, but it's not my favorite. I did sometimes for the evening layer Ashore with a little bit of Beloved Woman. Again, I did not take this full bottle with me. I did take a decant, but the decant I actually ended up giving to my friend who lives in Oman, who we were visiting. And she is not a perfumey person per se, but we got talking about perfume because we'd told her obviously that we'd been to Milan, and she was intrigued. So we ended up talking about it. And it just so happened, sorry, I was just had a little coughing fit. And it just so happened that I had a bunch of decants and samples in my purse while we were sitting there. So I took out the decant of this and she really loved it. So I said, just take it. Because she was like, oh, I want to buy it now. And I thought, oh, you might find it hard because I think Beloved has been discontinued. I don't think it's readily available anymore. This to me has a really lovely benzoin-y, leathery undertone to it. It does sort of remind me of the colour that it is, and they've also got some really beautiful florals in there, and it's also slightly mossy as well. So it's just a beautiful vintagey perfume. Yeah, this is obviously, I mean, I've talked about this a lot. This is one of my favorite Amouage perfumes ever, and I wear it a fair bit. I mean, it's got a decent dent in it, and I do try to not wear it too much because I know that I'm probably going to struggle to get another bottle of it eventually. But this is one of my favorite perfumes in my wardrobe. And then the other one that I wore a bit as well, and my battery's about to run out. The other one that I did wear a bit as well in the evenings when we were in Oman was Tuberose Moss by Rogue Perfumery. This is the little decant that I took with me. And I've said before, this is one of my favorite tuberose fragrances. It's very earthy and green and mossy. There's a decent amount of oak moss in here. That's one of the things Manuel Cross was kind of famous for, at least back in 2020. It's one of the reasons why a lot of people were really keen to get their hands on his perfumes. I don't know if he still uses that much oak moss in his perfumes. I think he has scaled things back and is more in line with IFRA regulations, but yeah, for a little while there it was kind of his marketing spiel that he puts lots of oak moss in his perfumes. What I really like about this is that it has this really velvety texture about it, which I think might be a result of there is a lot of creaminess in here and there's musk in here as well. So you get this sort of combination of a creamy note, and I think he actually says it's a whipped cream note, which, you know, always confuses me because these fantasy notes, who knows what they are. But he calls it a whipped cream note. So you get this sort of airy creaminess, but then you've also got this fluffy, airy muskiness as well. And I think that just in combination, it just results in this really beautiful, velvety, opulent feeling tuberose perfume that is also earthy and green. So all of my favorite things, basically. And so consequently, this is definitely not a bright tuberose. And I would say, like, these perfumes are vastly different in terms of how they smell. The birds are out. Obviously, there's been a little sliver of sunshine through the storm, and kookaburras are going crazy. As I said, these don't smell anything alike. They're completely different perfumes, but the tone of them and the feel of them is kind of similar to me. Like, there's something that resonates with me with both of these perfumes that I feel I would wear them for similar situations. So that is what I wore on my holiday. And what I will say is that even though I was wearing multiple perfumes, and I have to say, I do have to confess that there definitely were a couple of other occasions when I wore other perfumes as well, but like I literally might have only just worn them once. All of these I pretty much wore more than once, and I'm picking out these ones because these are the ones that are resonating with me from a memory perspective of each section of the holiday. So these had enough of an impact on me when I was wearing them that I am linking it to the holiday. And so even though I wore lots of perfumes, I didn't just wear one perfume on the holiday. I feel like there is a bit of a scent memory with all of these now. You know, I wore Musc Ravageur predominantly in the first week. So now when I smell that, I'm definitely being taken back to the Italian Alps. And then Musc de Sables and Fleurs d'Oranger in particular are really giving me Milan feels, and also just that period when I was going to Exscent and the evenings afterward. And then Ashore is definitely bringing me back to Oman, and Eau Lente as well, actually, because in a way that was really significant to me because that was what I was wearing on the day we flew out, and I was so excited to be going on this holiday, particularly after everything that happened in January. So I feel like that was impactful to me, not because I wore it over and over again, but because I wore it at a significant moment, or in a moment that felt significant to me. The interesting thing is I didn't really wear that much from Exscent while I was over there. There was one perfume that was gifted to me by a brand owner. It was a partial bottle. She knew it was my favorite from her line, and she very kindly gifted me the remainder so she didn't have to carry it back. And I will talk about that in another video as well. Anyway, my battery is literally about to die, so I'm going to end it there. Thank you so much. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed this. Leave me a comment if you have any strong thoughts about any of this, or if you've been on holiday recently and what your scent of the holiday was. I'll see you soon. Bye.